My name's Kyle Legault. I'm a visual artist, and basically, all my life I've been drawing characters and personalities. I started off as a young age drawing from photo albums, and today I'm going to draw Tupac. And I've been looking through some references, different references of Tupac, looking for a photograph that I actually liked, and I couldn't find the actual one I was looking for. So I'm going to draw it off my phone today. You'll be able to find the same photograph online. It's a pretty common photograph. And we're just going to draw his face. So I've got my pencils and my sharpener already. And if you just like to follow my movements, I'm going to sketch through it and build his face up and show you my process. And I'll try and take it nice and slow and explain. Right, so I'll start off by drawing as light as I can. The shape of his head. Just like an egg shape, nice and light oval. So I want to keep it as light as possible. Not drawing any hard lines at the moment. Just gonna score out his features before I commit to any dark lines. So what I tend to do is to look for shapes, circles and shapes within the face. So the most prominent one is his forehead, where the light hits. So I'll simply draw an impression of a circle there. And see this distance here from his forehead. You can measure with a pencil. It's the same as his nose, really. It's the same size as his nose, so just draw another circle about the same distance there to there. Give me the bottom of his nose. And then he has a little circle just before his top lip. And for the lips, I'll just draw a circle for the moment of the two lips. So I could draw a line through the middle of them if I want to, but show you that that's the lips. So this will work out where my eyes are. Draw two circles there, and just these impressions are sort of like the skull. So I'm building up the shape of the face, trying to find his features. So the circle under his eyes sort of just suggests where his cheekbones are for this moment. By looking, I can see they come from the corner of his mouth. So I'm just sort of suggesting that they're nice and light. And realistically, that's a circle that sort of cuts right through his mouth, and through the centre of his eyes and right round. So that will give me where his eyes start, or a suggestion at least. So by connecting this circle up, I can just see the length of the nose I want. Maybe put a little circle to suggest the 3D-ness either side. Dragging that down so that bottom of the nose will show me where the nostril goes. And like I said, it's just light at the moment. For underneath the nostril, I can see where his moustache would start. I'm following that natural line of his face. Show me where the lips end. You can also judge from like the nostrils to say where his eyes start. So say the black of his eyes are in line with his nostrils there, and the end of his lips will take you to the centre of the eye. So that might just give me a suggestion of where his eye starts and finishes. Just under the cheek, or just before the cheek. And these two marks I suggested were the black of the eye. Tupac has very big eyebrows, so very prominent. So let's get them in. On the first circle I drew, it was just a random circle, but you can see that it's almost like the top of the eyebrow or the bottom of the eyebrow. So you start working out that shape. How high you want it to go up by judging the photograph to you. Drawing. Something like that. Draw his bags and his eyes nice and light, just suggesting where everything is at the moment before I go right in hard with the pencil. Tupac has a nose ring. So what we're really drawing is the shadow, and if you can see on the picture, the light hits the outside of his lips, so we're drawing the inner surface of his lips. And just making up these shapes, trying to get them as close as you can to what you see. So what I can see is like the shape around the ball of his mouth, say. There is like a circle, a ball, which will give you the 3D shape. And I can see that's where the shadow hits under his nose from that out, which sort of defines his cheekbone on this side of his face. And light on this side of the face, you can see it's very skull-like. So it's sort of classic features, and this will give you the distance between from the eye to the ear. And when his skull sort of starts, his cheekbones actually come further out than his jawbone and his skull. Very prominent jawline. So I put a circle under his chin for now, just to judge the bottom of his face. So, and because this is in shadow on this side, you can actually mirror what you've drawn on the other side. Top of the ear, let's just put a little impression of the ear. The ear will actually come down to, say, the bottom of his nose. So then I start looking for the shapes. And his head's not quite round, it's almost like a box in the middle of it, so it gives you these angles. And this is how you'd make it more character-short, I suppose, from getting into this stage, you can then sort of go hard, push hard, and make your impressions more flamboyant, if you like, just with your lines, and really start to chisel out his features with confident strokes within your guidelines you've drawn already. So once you get it to that stage, you can really start to press a bit harder. And what I tend to do is start from the eyes and work down, so any sort of adjusting I've got to do can be pushed down, so I can see already maybe my eyes are a bit wide. So I'll just go in and make a more confident, harder line to start me off. And I can judge from there. Again, just darkening where I've made the impressions already. Putting the highlights in his eye. And if you go back and forth to each eye, you can actually get them to look more the same rather than doing one eye at a time. Keeping looking at the drawing, at the picture and the drawing. See, this eye's almost all in shadow, so you're able to make these adjustments by copying the other eye. And same with the bags. The shadow comes from this side, so it sort of curves and thins to there, whereas on this side it starts from this side and curves there. The top of his eyelid, it's got a darker line, and on this side it's not there. So these are the little things that you will notice whilst drawing it. And this really gives you the bottom of his eyebrow, so you're able to duplicate on the other side. Just pushing the pencil down a bit harder now, just to make these lines more visible. I can't actually see what goes on here, but I'm imagining your artistic license to make up what's missing if you want to bring it out or put in shadow. I'm going to show a bit of the shadow, but I'm not going to go quite to black. So from his eyes then, making sure they're right, I'll go down to the nose. Again, just looking where the darkest points of the picture is, and then pushing hard on the pencil and then pointing. If I pushed hard all over, it would just make a flat impression of it. So what I'm trying to do is just use, I suppose, fat lines and thin lines of darkness. And obviously this side's more in shadow than the other, but I'm going to judge it from the other side and try and duplicate what I think it would look like. Okay, so the light would come down the centre, hitting the centre of his nose, branching up to his nostrils, so you can sort of roughly sketch that in, if you like, there, which would show you how his eyebrows sort of meet. Sketching that is actually a darker point here. So what you can start to do is smudge away all your lines that sort of helped you out in the beginning. You don't need to rub them out, you can rub them into your drawing, and this will start to give you a shading, leaving the white where you've just sort of highlighted on his nose. You can always go back and rub this lighter, like so. So then I would just sort of maybe darken the eye in the centre, pushing as hard as I can, because the black show, the darker the pencil shows the depth or the darkest area in the drawing. A quick way of doing eyes is just cross them out from the centre and then come in from the edge of the circle back into the centre. Something like that. That'll do for now. With the eyebrows, what I want to do is follow the way they grow, the hairline. So I'll start at the bottom where the darkest part is. Just cover this because I don't want to smudge the drawing whilst I'm drawing. So again, just doing hard strokes, suggesting where the eyebrow is. Rub it in with my finger, make it darker. Just trying to show a bit of direction with the strokes. Not taking it quite fully to black. And then come from the top. You see, you've got these big eyebrows, so you can make this a really a stylistic part of your drawing of how you do Tupac's eyebrows. Again, this goes dark bridge of his head here, so clean your finger up on that. And here's the darkest part, so here, again, don't need to follow the contour of the eyebrow so much because it's going to be a darker eyebrow. So I just want to colour it in. Suggesting a direction of the hair growth. And that just shades right up on his head. Yep, something like that. So now I'm just going to come around his eyes a bit more so I can see. I don't want to go fully in yet with his eyelashes and things of that detail. I'm still at the stage where I'm blending him into his whole face, so it could still be changed. Just dirty that. Again, with the eye, the bottom of the eyes, it comes from dark shadow, so colour a bit and then sort of drag it around. Suggesting the direction of the light. Again, with this side, you might want to clean your finger. And now you can actually rub up the bottom excess off. So draw you in with the rubber, sharpen the corners up. Looks like we got a very young 2-pack. So I can see this is where it's darker, coming right down to here. Yeah, I didn't want to do too much shading, so I'm going to leave that and just get down to the lips. There's my stash, all sort of set off the 2-pack look. So the lips, the moustache is the darkest, so I'll draw that in, and this will give me the whole shape, and the attitude of his pose is really in the lips, and the shape of his face is going sort of contouring from his cheekbones to his bottom lip. That's my suggestion there at the moment. The more I can see is I'd like to maybe shorten cheekbone, higher cheekbones, really shortening that space there. Maybe higher in his lip, bottom lip. So you can see how you can caricature just by removing that lip there and sort of making a bigger bottom lip. It throws a cartoon sort of characterization of him. So I'll correct it a bit. Try and get as close likeness as him as I can. Again, using these shapes that I started out with to sort of judge where his lip ends on the shadow side. Suggesting the direction of his lip there. I suppose the more time you spend on a drawing, the deeper in depth you can go to sort of get it with the realism that you might be after. I think like realisms for photography, drawing, you can make up stuff and actually be really creative and experimental, and that's what will give you your style at the end of the day. I suppose for realism is less line being drawn, it's more of a shade. So like I'm used to doing cartoon characters and colouring them on computers after you've drawn them in a black sort of felt line. So like this is a mixture between the two of a line drawing and just a classical drawing. So what I'm going to do is just go for it with the dark underneath his nose. I'll just work my way around and down, looking at the picture constantly, trying to go the shape, or within a scribble if you like, to represent this hair on his moustache. If you want to do it evenly, go around each way, both sides at the same time. Sort of give it that same style. And you can use your finger. Get it right in, and it's totally black over here. So I'm just going to suggest a nostril. I think it's more important I get a moustache in the shadow so I can make it darker later. If the moustache is in, I can actually space out the lips. So let's do that first. Again, I'm leaving a line, a white line, distance between the moustache and the lips, which we'll highlight later. Trying to keep it straight to my judgments of the first drawing. The moustache comes up to there and sort of follows this line I've drawn to his cheekbones, which are on this side square. Shadow somewhere there, so I'll just throw that in. Just lighten up the nose a bit. Darken the eye up. So what I'm going to do is just darken this side up so I can see what it looks like. Just light scribbles and then just smudge them into your page. Again, at the side of his head, so the distance from his eyebrow straight to his cheekbone shows me that his ear starts there. I can commit to that. Draw it. From his eyebrow, his cheekbone, his ear, back over there. So within his lips, it looks like the top lip has got all the shadow. So I'm going to start in the corner and sort of work my way around, trying to do both sides as we go along. So again, just looking for shapes within the lips of where the light sort of hits the lips. He sort of screws it. He's screwing his top lip up, or clenching his lips tight to give that impression. Look closely. You could even zoom your phone in and actually see what's going on there closer. I just want an impression. So that's fine for me. The lips got the shadow from the bottom on the bottom there, leaving a white highlight running right around, sort of from this point. So I'll just get at it. Light strokes. Smudge it out, and you can actually go back then. Highlighter in there. Okay. So let's put this mustache around the corner of his lips. He's all puckered up his lips. He's like a really pretty dude, Tupac. Especially with these big eyelashes and mustache ready. So this is pretty much all shadow, so I can try and blacken that out and throw the features forward a lot more. Under the chin. Just maybe the flat one up. Go back to the eyes. Sharp on the pencil. So yeah, we've got to darken the eyes because they are the darkest point on the photograph. So I can go into there and sort of suggest his eyelashes. I don't really want to try and draw any eyelashes just yet. So just suggest them very lightly. So I'm going to darken this eye from the outside of the circle into the centre, sort of suggesting his roundness, leaving just the light little bits of white shining through on the cross that you sort of built earlier. Same on the other side. Just really darkening the eye. Here it's totally in black, but I'll just colour it ever so slightly. just lightly flicking the pencil to suggest eyelashes. I wouldn't try and do that just yet. Making it dark might flatten my whole drawing, so just sort of suggesting it. And I'll darken up this side. Really got some sort of strong things, shapes going on his head here, veins and things, so you can sort of suggest them by going really hard. His head wounds, battle scars, and throw them. Okay. So the ears, well, the height of the ear curls really is the same height as the eye, but starts off just underneath. So I like that square sort of cornered head style rather than a round head. So I get that in. Okay, shade that in. Because you've drawn the hardest you can in these dark places, you're able to then shade with your finger and drag the shadow out darker just by putting a slight bit of pencil on the drawing to suggest a shadow underneath, dragging it into place. Same by here, just give it a bit more depth and shape. So you're finding that circle, going right into there with the shadow. My thumb moves mad. So then you see where the neck sort of starts. Just clean my finger up. Try this side. Again, mirroring what you see on the other side and just going in with a dark hard pencil. That is an actual thing on his face where separates his cheekbones to his ear. Dark place. So I'm just really going dark on this side, and I'll smudge it on. You can go as dark as you like. I'm just sort of suggesting that's darker. Trying to stay on the lines you've worked out before. Just to give him his eyebrows, eyelashes. And the pencil's a bit blunt. So yeah, I'm just breaking up the cheekbones and shadow, trying to give it a bit of depth, and then I'll do some highlighting with the rubber Same on the head, just give it some depth, show the shape. Darken it in certain places. There's my Tupac, so then it's just about highlighting, and you can go into as much detail as you want. After that, just keep filling with it, the highlights, darkening the lines in certain places, and you'll sort of bring out your own style of Tupac Shakur. Get rid of these lines, because no one really has lines on their face. So shade these in. Shadow. So yeah, try not to go too overboard with the shading, because you kind of flatten the image. So that's just basically, I will keep looking around the drawing and try not to go overboard and spoil it. Try flattening the image too much. Let's choke down a bit. So it really goes right along the line there. So yeah, actually standing up I can see, standing back you can see I've correct the angles if need be. I hope you was able to follow along. Send me what your Tupac looked like. Any comments, please leave them at the bottom. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Cheers.